Did you watch my last video on doing your 2023 year in review? If not, go ahead and check the link at the bottom to go find that video and do that because we are going to be using some of the information that you got from that video to set our intentions and our goals for 2024. And this is the process that I use for myself and that I use with my clients who are interested in setting goals or intentions for themselves. So I'm Dr. Kit Slies, life coach and licensed psychologist, here to inspire perfectionists and anxious achievers to feel calm and confident while holding clear boundaries. And today we're talking about goal setting and setting our intentions for the year ahead. If you are an anxious achiever, an overachiever, a perfectionist, sometimes what we're talking about when setting that intention, it's a couple of things. Sometimes we need to be doing less because we're doing too much and our life is overwhelmed and complicated and we're not really clear on what's important to us. And that's why we end up feeling overwhelmed. Or the other thing that we're talking about, especially with perfectionism, is how to maintain motivation when we don't perfectly achieve the goals we set for ourselves. So I'm going to be breaking goal setting down into a process. We're going to be talking about setting goals and intentions that align with our values and what's important to us. We're going to be using a technique called mental contrasting to set our goals, and we're going to use the data from the exercises that you did in the last video to help with that mental contrasting. And all of this is in service of cultivating your potential, your best self that is already within you. It's already there. This is about just uncovering the layers to let that version of you shine. So let's dig into values and creating an intention or goals that align with our values and what's important to us. So the process that I like to use is that we create an intention or a vision for the year ahead, and then we might break that down into smaller goals. And I'll explain what I mean by that. But what I want to say is that the intention or the vision that we set for ourselves, it's important that we're looking at our values and the aspects of our life that are important to our health and well-being, so that we are not creating a vision for ourselves that is out of alignment with our true selves or what we need. Because if we're doing that, it's going to feel really hard to stick to that vision, or pursuing that vision might not be in your best interest. So when I say create an intention, what I would ask you to do is to fast forward to 2024, December of 2024, and write a little story or create, if you can visualize, create a little visualization in your mind of how you're going to feel in December 2024. So at the end of a year, like basically a year from now, right? And I want you to visualize this, say this to yourself, write it down in the present tense. And as part of this process, you want to be thinking about what are your values and what are areas of your life that are important to you. So values, of course, are those things that are our guiding principles. So your value might be achievement. Your value might be hard work. Your value might be helping other people. You might also value things like family, learning, autonomy or authenticity. These are values. But we also want to weigh that against areas of our life that are important to us, even if they don't make it to your list of values. So you want to think about, you know, your professional life, your personal life, your relationships, your physical and mental health, hobbies, different different parts of your wheel of life that are important to you. Because if you value hard work and achievement, but you see that your life is out of balance, you don't have a lot of time for downtime, hobbies, relationships, we have to figure out a vision that is incorporating all of those things. It's possible to have all of that. It's just that we don't want to pursue one thing to leave another part of our life out of balance. So this is the first part, is incorporating your values in your vision, your intention for the year ahead. And again, the way that you set your intention or your vision is you fast forward and you visualize it as if you are already there. I will use myself as an example. In looking back at last year, I created a vision for myself. Mine was about two pages, like a front back page in a journal this size. Okay. And I visualized myself at the end of the year in relation to family, friends, what I was doing with my downtime. And then what I did actually was I boiled that down to 2 words for myself for the year. And those words were creativity and simplicity. And that's what I was cultivating for myself in my vision. And that applied to my personal goals and my professional goals that I was setting for myself throughout the year. But boiling it by the power of visualizing it in the present tense and then being able to boil it down to those 2 words is that those 2 words to me represent this larger, rich vision that I created for myself of how I was feeling in the year. Okay. So now, um, the second part of this is the mental contrasting. Now, we did a retrospective mental contrasting in the video from last time. Now, what you're going to do for yourself is you're going to take your vision and you're going to break that down into actionable goals or steps that you can take. You can break it down by quarter if you want. You can break it down month by month, or you can just create a couple of actions that you would like to take for this year. So, before we get to the mental contrasting, I want to say a couple of things about those goal settings. So we want a mix of goals for ourselves. So our perfectionists out there, we want to create some goals. If you ever heard the term SMART goals, those can be very helpful. So they're specific, they're measurable, they are achievable, keyword achievable, realistic, and timely. And just for the sake of time, I'm not going to go through what every single one of those means. But what you might say is that, okay, the goal I'm going to set for myself is I'm going to go to, I said that health was important to me. Or honestly, I said in my vision how important it is for me to have energy for my family. And I know that even though maybe health wasn't a top priority, I know that going to the gym gives me more energy and that will actually help me achieve my vision. So I'm going to break that down into a goal of moving my body. And if it's a SMART goal, I'm going to say, I'm going to go once per week for maybe 30 minutes just to begin with. And I'm going to do that for 1 month. That's an example of a SMART goal because you see, I'm not going from 0 to like no times per week to 5 times per week. That might not be an achievable or realistic goal for me. Okay. But it's specific. I'm saying how frequently I want to go, how long I want to be there for, and the timeliness of how long I'm actually going to do that for. Just 1 month, and I'm going to reassess. Right. So the thing about SMART goals is that when we make them specific and realistic and achievable, and then we give ourselves a time period to kind of reassess, we can look back and say, oh, hey, I actually went to the gym 3 out of the 4 weeks in the last month. Wasn't perfect, but that's okay. Perfection is, because instead of going 0 times as I had been going, I went those 3 times, and that feels good. So that's an example of a SMART goal. When setting goals, it's also okay to create goals that feel that push you a little bit, okay? That feel maybe big. Is with the caveat that you are using those to motivate you if when you don't actually achieve that goal on the timeline that you've set for yourself. And so you might do some experimentation with yourself of setting a mix of goals that are SMART goals that feel very achievable and build momentum, that feel easy, you can get there, they're a quick win, and then setting bigger goals that push yourself. The key here is that these goals should be used to motivate us. The moment you are using a goal to chastise yourself for not getting there, you're doing it wrong. These goals should create self-compassion. You want to be cultivating kindness towards yourself in achieving these goals. So you can do some experiments about the kind of goals. But then what we're going to do is we're going to use this technique called mental contrasting. And the power of doing the year in review that we did last time is that you have some hard data of how to use mental contrasting. Mental contrasting is when we think of a goal or a vision that we've set for ourselves and we imagine ourselves achieving it really well. And we go to that place of, oh my gosh, this feels amazing. I did this. This feels motivating. It feels energizing. It feels momentous. We are connecting with the feeling as if we've already been there, because that can be very motivating. Mental contrasting, though, it's not just all about happy thinking and just thinking ourselves to this place that we haven't got to yet. It's also about being realistic and taking into consideration what are the realities of life that we're going to have to overcome to achieve that goal. So we're going to say, here are some potential barriers that I know I'm going to have to overcome, or I might have to overcome. And then here are the steps that I'm going to take to do that. So that when I get to this point in working towards my goal, I feel like I'm not making it. Rather than giving up, I know I have my game plan for how I'm going to deal with that. So we're going to take our year in review and think about, can we apply that to any of the goals that we are setting for ourselves in 2024? Now, I haven't gone through and set my 2024 intentions or goals yet. I'm doing this process with you, but I have done my year in review. And I will give you some examples of some things that I came up with, things that moved me toward my goals, my vision, and things that took me away. If you'll remember, I boiled down my vision into those 2 words, creativity and simplicity. And so one of the things that I didn't even set this goal in the beginning of the year, but as the year went on, I realized I needed intentional time for creative tasks. And that I was spending a lot of time in the evenings, maybe doing downtime stuff, which was important, right? But there was maybe an opportunity to be creative in those evenings, and I wasn't using it. And so I set aside a couple of nights per week for myself to do like just arts and crafts stuff, and it didn't really have any purpose or intention necessarily, but just allowing myself to do that. And I told my husband about it so that I would have a little bit of an accountability, say, hey, can you be supportive of me in doing this? And maybe find something for yourself to do as well, which he was on board with and very, supportive of, but knowing that we would both benefit from these kinds of activities, so that I didn't feel like, oh, I should be just going and watching TV with him or something like that, right? And so that was one thing that I followed through on. Did I do it perfectly all the time? No. But the point of looking at the things that were successful is just remembering, hey, this felt good when I was doing this thing. This is one example of what it felt like to be in that space, that vision of feeling the feeling that I was aiming, that creativity and everything else that that gave me, and all and how it was enriching all the other different areas of my life. Another action that I took that moved me towards my goals was that there were moments when I was not achieving my intention, and that felt really tough. And so rather than getting down on myself and thinking, "Oh my gosh, I'll never get there," I figured, you know what? I might need some time to kind of lick my wounds here and be okay with that so that I can regroup and come back to my intentional actions when I'm ready. Um, One thing that I did also imperfectly, but that was helpful at times was being more intentional with a morning ritual of some downtime, some journaling, some meditation. And the thing that that gave me was being able to cultivate presence and stillness in the evenings when I'm with my family. Because one of my words was simplicity, right? And so trying to simplify even my inner world was a part of that. Things that took me away from my goals that were, actions that I took that create barriers for myself. One big thing was either not planning my days out or making a plan and not sticking to it. And what I found was that, there's a time and a place to not be always planning. That's important, right? Sometimes too much planning feels like, oh, my whole life is just a calendar that I don't have any autonomy, right? And so there's a time and a place for unplanned time. But what I was realizing was that by not planning or by not sticking to my plan was in the work when I in the daytime when I'm doing work, in my professional life, what was happening was I wasn't getting as much done as I wanted to or felt like I needed to feel that stillness. And then in the evenings I just felt discombobulated internally and wasn't able to be totally present when I wanted to be. So I found that on days that when I would create a plan for myself and stick to it more or less, doesn't even have to be perfect, but just more or less feeling like I'm getting those important things done, then I was able to cultivate that stillness in the evening that created a sense of simplicity in my life. So those are some examples of what I took from that activity, and I'm going to apply that to the year ahead as I am thinking about what's helpful for me. What are the actions? What are the action steps that I want to be taking towards my vision, whatever that might be? I'm going to apply those lessons learned, that mental contrasting. What are the things that move me toward my goal? What are the things that take me away? This is not about self judgment. This is not about being hard on myself for not planning my days and not doing them perfectly. It's about saying, hey, I have that awareness about myself and I can notice when I'm doing that and be kind to myself if I'm doing that and check in. Maybe this is a day that I need to not plan and just kind of do the bare minimum and let the rest kind of go to the pits. Or maybe this is a day that I know I will feel so much better if I'm planning and sticking to that plan more or less. So, just to summarize this process a bit, you are fast forwarding to 2024, creating that present tense vision for yourself. And then you are just going to identify initially a few actions that you want to be taking for yourself. Do not overwhelm yourself with this. Just start, even maybe for the month of January, with one or two actions. And then you do want to create a process for yourself where how are you going to check in with yourself on this stuff? Do you want to check in every week, once a month, once a quarter? I like a quarterly check-in. I don't do it perfectly. Sometimes it ends up being like, one or two times in the year. Okay. But put that in your calendar for yourself about, hey, I'm going to check in with myself on these goals. And I'm going to do it with self-compassion, meaning I'm going to be kind to myself and find ways to motivate myself with the mental contrasting, using your vision of what that feels like to be there, to feel all the feelings of what it feels like to have achieved the goal in my head already, and then planning ahead for how I'm going to deal with those barriers that come up inevitably. So this is my hope for you, to continue that journey of being the best self that already exists within you, that version of you, um, that is there, that you connect with and feel alive when you are living from that place within you. So think about what's important to you. Think about what values enliven you, and think about creating balance in all those aspects of your life. Your the financial piece, the working version of you, the personal version of you, the relationships that you want to cultivate, the self-care, the hobbies, travel. Like, I mean, that might look different for different people, those things that I'm rattling off here, but we want all of those to feel balanced. What kind of goals can you set for yourself that are going to create a little bit more balance or harmony in your life, that are going to let you feel like you are living out your values? And as you move through the year, you are going to embrace moving toward that vision, and let yourself to learn, allow yourself to learn from any setbacks that you experience along the way with kindness, so that you continue to evolve and grow. So, on that note, happy vision setting and goal setting for yourself. And leave me a comment below if you found this helpful. And good luck in setting this vision and intention for yourself for 2024. Bye for now.